Hello everybody, Down RTS is back. I'm going to jump in right where we left off. I'm going to explain to you what I'm going to do today. I will have to set this canvas that we can see in my browser. And you press F12, you open the developer tools. And you can use this to select an element on the page, and you can see that this is the canvas. Here it is. And we have added right here. I'll make the text a little bigger for you. It's easier to read. Now the point is that this canvas will take up the entirety of the screen. I want it to be as big as possible, and if I want to embed it anywhere, I will just use an element called an iframe, where you can load this page in another page. But I want the canvas element to be full screen, and we will be using CSS for that. And I can just type that in a style element, because for some reason I can't give a source. And I always have to look up the syntax of the link. It's a link that you need to add. But I will do that later. It's the intent that one day I'll be better at making videos. So if we want the canvas element, which has ID game, use a bracket and then the name. So bracket game refers to the canvas which we gave the ID game. Then an opening bracket, and a closing one, the curly ones. In this we can add properties. For an example, position is one that I need to set, and there are a few options, and I will use absolute, and that will mean that it will place it relative to the outside box, which is body in this case, as canvas is in body, and body takes up the whole screen right now, but body doesn't have position specified, so it will go to HTML, and HTML IC doesn't take up the whole screen anyway. Doesn't have a position set either, so that means the window. Yes, it works up like that. I had to trace it a little. Having set position to absolute, I'm saving now. If I refresh the page, I see in my inspector that canvas now has position absolute. And I'll add my CSS in here just to show you that you can do that too. It's easier to tweak around in here. I set top, that's the distance from the top, only works in absolute, is 0, and hopefully you can see that it's now snapped to the top. Bottom is also 0, and now you can see that it stretches. No, it doesn't. I'll have to specify the width and the height then. Left 0, right 0. It's really easy to edit in here because you can see live what changes you have made. Width, I can specify, I will set this to 100%. That's 100% of the outside box. But as none of these have position specified, it is the width of the window and the height of the window. So now you can see that it has scaled it to fit the width of 100%. Because I didn't specify a height, it automatically adapted. And now I have the scroll bar, because the canvas is larger now. It keeps the ratio intact, the width and the height. When I specify a height, 100%. Now the scroll bar is gone and the canvas takes up the entire screen. Now the canvas element is a special one. I will copy this over to my CSS. The canvas is a special element because we can draw pixels on it, and lines and triangles and everything you want to draw on it. It has functions assigned to it, some sort of API, and you can use it to draw graphics manually, and we will use this to draw the game. So the game canvas is now full screen. Means we can use the whole screen to draw the game on. And of course when I press F11, this entire screen is now the game. So you can play a game like you could play on a desktop. I'm going to look up a link because I can never remember it. You only use this once, or at least I look it up once and then I copy it if I need it again. Here, this link. All these things I don't remember. You see that href, it refers to mystyle.css, and I will use it screen.css. So I can remove it here. And I can add it here. I'll call it screen.css, and in this file we can put our CSS code. So when this becomes bigger, when I add more elements that I need to style, it doesn't add to my index. So my index remains an oversight of the entire page without being cluttered. so I prefer to keep it in an external file. So if I'm correct, if we reload this page now, we inspect it, you see that game takes up the entire screen. If I sound a little differently, it's because my medication is kicking in. It makes the inside of my nose swell, so I talk through my mouth almost all the way. So now we have the canvas set up properly in the browser. I'm going to set it up in the code. As you can see, the script main.js is running after body, which means that when body is fully loaded, the script will run. So I don't have to use a load function for that. JavaScript has various functions that will fire when certain events are triggered. And that means that when something happens, it runs the code. But we don't have to use that here. As soon as the page loads, we will have to get the element, that is the canvas. ID is game. So we'll use document to refer to the document, this one. And there is a function in the document element, and we can access the inside of document using a period, and then what we want to get, and in this case it's a function called get element by ID. And when we put something in a function, we use brackets, and what we put in here we call a parameter. So I will explain JavaScript a little better. You can just follow along as I do this. You don't need to know everything. It will become clearer over time. Yes, we'll enter a string. That's a piece of text you always put between exclamation points, and that is, in this case, the ID of the element we want to select, and it was game. This one, the canvas. Now, what we access here is a function, and a function accepts parameters that we put in here. And it executes a piece of code, and then eventually it will return, may or may not return a value, and we will get that instead of the function. So you can use the function as a value and it will automatically calculate it for us. Now what this function will return, the get element by ID from document, is the element itself. And in JavaScript we make a variable, which is like a little box we can put things into, using var and then the name, and I will use canvas as the name, this variable canvas, and then we assign it to the value that this function returns. And when I debug this, I can console, which is part of the interface, part of your browser, so I can just type console here, just like document. Now in document, now in console in console we use the function log, and as a parameter we will use canvas, so it will log the canvas inside the console. So when I save this and we run the page, I can go to my developer tools. You can see the console right here. And you can see that it returned the canvas in the console. It has logged it, just like I asked. So we now know that the canvas that we have put in there in the document can be found by the code. Now there is another function that I will like to show you that we will need to set up. Yes. I will make a new variable called context, and we will use canvas dot, that's a function of canvas, get context. And get context returns the context, which is a part of the canvas element. That just like document, console or canvas has parts in it that I can use to draw things to the screen, and we will use a context called 2D, and there's also a 3D. This will be a 2D game. And again I will console.log, this time context, just to check if this is alright. And we see canvas rendering context 2D, which has all these things in it that we will use to draw our game. It's like handy little tools to draw. And I will take a break until I can probably do this again, because my medication is not helping.